Ready, Freddy?
Let's go.
Are you ready? So, the topic of this episode is called Someone Worth Looking Up To. And we're gonna explore this in two ways. One of it is being someone worth looking up to, and also finding someone worth looking up to. So what made me want to do this episode is this one guy, his name is Kirtan. He wrote to me, he wrote to the podcast, he really wanted to get to us. And he said, thank you for all the good work. And he wanted to speak specifically on masculinity, but I think we can cover masculinity, but this is a bigger topic. And he wanted some advice on how to be a man who can help raise the next generation of men in a healthy manner, especially when he doesn't have a positive relationship with the men in his life that raised him. And he said that when we did the toxic masculinity episode, one of the things that you said was the way to find a good man is to see if they have a good relationship with their father or if they have good male mentors. And he said he didn't have either. And so he doubted that can I not even be a good man? And he's like, I'm sure that's not what he meant, but he's looking for some answers.
No, the very effort he has taken to explore this shows some depth in this boy, Kirtan. Well done, Kirtan. I don't know how old is he, but...
I'm assuming he's around my age.
Okay. That means you are actually saying, I need to find someone to look up, to emulate. You see, a lot of us don't know how to be ourselves. Follow this carefully. We have to discover it. Sometimes when we find somebody to look up to, right? When we look up to something, we are actually discovering ourselves. So you are not necessarily looking for someone to look up to. You're looking for someone to grow into. So looking up to is simply you confessing the demand for you to be the person you need to be. I don't know whether I would ever live up to be my father. There's some parts of my father I don't want to be. But there are some parts of him I really, really want to be that person. When he really means well for other people. I look at it and say, which means I have it too, or I must own it. Or my martial art master, there's things about him that I would take a lifetime to rise up to. But I aspire to it. So, hang on. For Kirtan, when he's asking this question, what is he really asking? He says, I know I am something more. I just don't have anybody around to show me how to be that. Start there. Maybe he didn't have a father, a mentor, and that happens to everyone, majority of people. I was one of those who's lucky, Remember this, what happened to me? I got lucky, right? I got lucky.
I think also the idea of a mentor, right? You can get disillusioned to them as you get older. But you can still honor what they gave you in the moment.
In that process of growing. You see, that's why looking up to is a process. You always keep increasing. So I always say, if you are not measuring yourself with the world class, you are not measuring at all. Right? My masters, when I went to learn, they were somebody I oh my God, I worshipped. And did I worship them? No. I knew I need to wake up to be that. I'm not that. If I worship golf, Tiger Woods swing, right? I'm trying to get that. So whenever you are looking up to somebody, you are looking up to what you can come to be. That person who you look up to eventually is irrelevant. You might outgrow them. Right? So there's double-edged sword. You look up to somebody, you can be limited by them. You can look up to somebody that you can outgrow them. But what he's confessing is, I can't see it for myself. I need to see it outside. In the East, there is a method, they call it satsang. You go sit with somebody who has attained to something. And you actually see the truth of that person being that. Suddenly you can see it as a truth for you. This is an older science, That's why the Hindus build statues and deities and pray to. Whatever you can see as a fact, your system will gravitate towards it. Right? And if you can't see, most often you cannot gravitate towards. You don't know how to be that. So looking up to somebody is very important. Very, 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 very important that somebody you admire, somebody you adore, somebody that you know someday you're going to be that person. If you don't have it, then you don't have the internal signal to grow. But there is a danger. When you look up to somebody, if that person is false, you end up being false. If that person is a lie, if that person lied to you, then you have looked up to something of a lie that your whole system might reject. So this is a very dangerous discussion. Do you know what this world has become? They made us admire Bill Gates or Elon Musk or all these rich people, the dictators. And we suddenly thought that it's okay to be like them. Is that the person you want to admire? So now, again, whatever you're looking up to, is that the person that instinctively you are moving towards, that you can come to be? It looks like copying. I call it mentoring, co-bodying, right? Do you know, right now our education system is wrong, They just write on the board, they publish in a book, they give it to you, they test you whether you have learnt it. Those days, that's not education. That is Gurukula. You go to somebody who has embodied it, you become one with that person, and eventually you acquire all the skills, right? Then you emulate. Anybody that has become anything amazing in their life, show me their guru. I'm using the word guru. A teacher, somebody. You will emulate. If your father and mother read, your father and mother work hard, your father and mother behave, you will behave. You co-body it, you emulate it. But now let's talk about Kirtan. Kirtan, right? Find someone.
I think that's his struggle, right? I guess he's also thinking that, like, I didn't have it when I was young. Does that mean I can never be a good man?
No. There must be. There must have been someone. How did he even want to know this? Or it is a negative. You can wake up to say, I don't want to be this. I tell you, when I was leaving 18 years old, my hometown, the bus that I was taking passed by my house. I remember putting my hand and saying, Dad, I'm going to do everything I can not to end up you, Dad. Not in a bad way. I don't want to be as poor as him. I don't want to be the kind of person who gave up too much on himself. I also admire that beautiful quality of him giving selflessly, but I also said, I am not going to be abused like how you were abused. You gave up you. I remember putting down. So maybe his mentor is what not to be. I don't want to be like my dad or my friends or whoever that is in your life. I don't want to be that person. I tell you, the right instinct of abuse is, I will never be an abuser. The wrong instinct is, it's okay to abuse, right? So when you say you are looking up to, you can also look down. You're still looking. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to end up being that. Right? Maybe he had some people that were abusive and he's saying, you have already something that you don't want to be. By that, you're looking up to something else to be. Maybe you will not get that person. You can get to be that person. You follow?
Yeah.
So sometimes we say looking up to is only the perfection. No. We can also look down at something and say, I don't want to end up that. Rejection is a kind of acceptance too, But the spirit of this boy, I don't know why I'm admiring the question. I'm admiring. If you don't have it, who said you didn't have it? You know what you don't want. You just have to figure out what you want. You know what you don't want to be. I had an uncle who's an alcoholic, who died as an alcoholic. I know, I love him. He's a nice guy. But I will never want to end up him. And he taught me that. I had martial art masters who I want to end up them. But I don't want to end up being poor like my martial art master. In the name of giving, he gave everything away and he never looked after himself. That also I don't want. But at the end of the day, you are connecting to you. You are almost carving you out, what is not and what is. That means every impact is positive. Every impact is positive. What I don't want to be, what I want to be. Right? But now, is there anybody you can look up to? I think parts of people. This part of this person I want to be. This part of the person I don't want to be.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you can find anyone who embodies all of it. Like, if you take my masters, they're all enlightened, they're beautiful human beings. I don't want to end up them. There are so much of them I want, I admire, I aspire to, but there is so much I also say, no, I don't want to end up that. And that's my right. You know?
I guess like that's why also whenever you talk about Osho, right? I'm sure people are like, but Osho was like so controversial, and like yeah, of course, like
That I don't want.
I also think that Osho, like, why were you silent when all of this was going on? You could have said something.
Yeah.
But I don't think that, like,
I
you don't
don't
have
admire-
to. You don't have to take that.
I don't have to admire that. I
Yeah.
don't have to admire that. That is definitely not something I want. I'd rather be a normal human being. I don't want to be the super spiritual. I don't know. That's why I'm like this.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, be careful of accepting something completely and by that be disappointed. You find what is that you need for you to be the person you need to be. You know? And I think that's the right approach. But the need for another is there, which is the dimension of gurus. I would want to have a Tiger Woods swing, but I don't want to swing like Tiger Woods.
No, he was swinging.
No, I don't want to do that. And I don't want to make golf my career. I think I'll shoot myself. But good for him. And that's the beauty of the world. Everything reveals what I can come to be, and I take that. I don't have to take it all. There's a Kudambai song, very beautiful. Let me see, I don't mess it up. Settu pirappore tuttiporku muktitan illayadi Kudambai muktitan illayadi. Something like that. He said, anyone who admires the one who will die and be reborn, right? There is no liberation, there is no liberation. He's talking about admiration. Die and reborn means anyone who worships somebody who's not enlightened. He said there is no liberation. He's talking about this. He's talking about that I need to see. That's why in the East you go to the temple for what? Darshan. Darshan means to see. So I tell you this, maybe it's a story. Your grandfather was dying, and Appa was there. And as I held his hand, he calmed down. And we were taking him in the car. Prem was driving. I was in front seat. My mother was holding him like this. And your mother was next to my father. So two ladies, my father was in the middle. And he was kind of out of it. He's like in and out. As I'm holding his hand, my mother hugged him, crying. And she said, he's my friend, Oh, that moment I said, I've seen it. It took me 50 years to see it. I said, I saw it. Oh my God. Their union. That he was completely gone. He's going. He's like sludged over, can't breathe properly. My mother hugging him, holding, and she knows. She's looking at me. He's dying, isn't it? I said, yes, he is. And the way my mother cried and said, he's my friend. I went like, that's my darshan. There might be so many moments that are not beautiful. But I take that moment. You understand? I'm like, wow, thank you. Darshan. That means I saw it. Sometimes, when you want to look up to something, you make a fantasy out of it.
Yeah, because it seems like there's almost nobody that you can look up to that's perfect. I mean, except Beyonce, obviously. She's perfection in every sense. That is my religion. That, please don't come for my queen. She is my queen, my mother, my everything. Okay. Except Beyonce.
If Beyonce is your mother...
She's mother.
Oh, okay. I thought she was your mother. I was kind of getting excited about it.
You had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I stayed in LA near her house, I tried walking around. It never bumped into her.
The only person that every time she comes up on the TV, my dad's like, oh, she's quite pretty, isn't she? I was like, well, she's the queen.
I keep missing who this lady is. Every time she comes, I'm like, wow, that's a nice lady.
But it seems like whoever these idols we look up to, and like for me, I don't want to.
It's just you.
Yeah, I don't want to meet Beyonce because I like admiring her.
No, it's just you.
Yeah.
You see, admiring somebody is one thing, knowing the reality is another thing.
Exactly.
So when you admire somebody, you might create a fantasy.
And I love my fantasy. So I don't want to meet this person. I want to enjoy what they represent for me.
Why? Because you can gravitate towards her, which is you. You're not even seeing her, you are seeing you.
I wish.
Or the you that you want to see is being projected through her. Who she will be somebody she admires.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Now, if you don't have it, is it a lack? Sad. That's all I would say. You should find somebody.
It doesn't mean you can't be a good man, you can't be a good woman, can't be a good mother.
No, the best men I've seen are the men, not necessarily found the man they want to be, they found the man they don't want to be. They said, I don't want to be this person. And then they become this person. So, what is about looking up to someone? You see, this looking up also how the British rule India. This bunch of British guy came to India and they made themselves superior and the whole race looked up to them. They were reduced. That's also looking up. Even in Malaysia, anyway, they came and they said, we are superior, we know more. And suddenly they look down on all the culture and make everybody look up to them. And that's an oppression too. Right? So you must be very careful. When the Americans or the British or whatever the European people went to America, they looked down on the native culture. And they cheated the native culture to look up to them. Right? So be very careful. This is dangerous. Sometimes you can look up at somebody and insult yourself by it. Only look up to anything that aspires you to wake up to be that. And the person that you look up to must tell you, you will be more than me. You will be more than what I can be. Like Kirtan, I don't know, little I know. You okay by me, son? You okay by me? You are striving.
If we flip it now, right? We talk about being the kind of person worth looking up to. How do we sort of come to that? Because when somebody looks up to you, like a young child or like a younger person looks up to you, you almost want to be. They kind of push you to being better because okay, this person is looking at me. I'm going to try and be my best. But what is it about us and people in general that we can be the kind of people that's worth looking up to?
I think it's being responsible. I think it's taking the responsibility. Somebody is looking up to you, don't mind being that person for that person. It's a burden you carry. Because none of us want to be the kind of person somebody looks up to because it's so hard to live up to your idea.
Yeah.
It's so hard because it's an idea. Like you are saying about Beyonce, you have an idea. When you go there, she might have a bad cold that day or she might be grumpy or something. I had somebody who met Whitney Houston, worked closely with Whitney Houston. And he said, out there she's confident and she sings. He said, at the backstage, she's a wreck.
I mean, she was using so much drugs.
I don't know what she was doing there. This is like 20 years ago. They said she's prays together with the group. She holds, she needs hug. And I said, really, yeah? Like she needs so much of support.
She needs to be propped up almost.
Propped up and everybody are hugging her and let's do this. And then she goes up and she signed. But I said, that's reality.
Yeah.
Out there is also a reality. This reality might disturb that reality. Right? This reality might disturb that reality. I think if anybody looks up to you, it's a responsibility. You must not let them down.
But sometimes, what you look up to in someone is just their authenticity.
That would be good. But most often, that is not what people see. We like the show. Is it like what you said? You don't want to meet Beyonce?
If I saw her, I would run away because I would be scared.
You'll be scared. Or you, yeah.
Oh, I'd be like, hi. Like, there's no confirm. What's your name? I don't know what my name is.
I might go single lady, hello, single lady.
Oh, God, we would embarrass
I said, when we were staying in LA, and just few doors away, whatever the hill that we lived in,
Beverly
somebody
Hills.
said it's her house. I go up there. So if she comes out, I say, hello, 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 single lady.
Oh
I might
God!
walk up and say, hi, how are you doing? My daughter loves you. Probably get shot.
It's not love. It's worship.
And
It's
why
devotion.
not? And why not? I've seen her, no? Why not? Look at her. Look at proud and beautiful and what an
Hardworking.
inspiration, hardworking. And she looks like she's all there.
She's a mother and like
Why won't you admire? See, this is what the Hindus did, These are the deities. They worshipped it so they can grow up. They created something for you to look up to and aspire to. That's what puja is. That's what worship is. Like, let's talk about kirtan. Be the person you think the other should have been. If you don't have people that you admire, then you know the qualities that you admire in that other person. Now it is your obligation to wake up to be that person. So live as a light. So he must live as the example for the rest.
yeah.
As much as he's looking for somebody to look up to, he has to be that person
But we also
that
have
others
to,
look up to.
Thread that line carefully because you can also get like a huge ego being like I'm someone worth looking up to.
That is sorry the word, an asshole. And they will be known very quickly. These are the egocentric, egoistical people. They are not worth admiring. They are the people you wake up realizing, thank you for meeting you. I know the person I don't want to be. So you have two things going on here. You look at the world and you say, what I don't want to be and what I want to be. In the sixth right, this is the third, This is the free will part, the yes and no. What do you say yes to and what do you say no to? You know what I mean? What do you say yes to and what do you say no to? I tell you a story, see whether it fits in this conversation. There used to be a caste in India, in a particular place, that only certain castes can write poetry. Not anybody can write a poet caste, they write poetry. You're a potter, you do potter. So the king one day said, I want some poetry to be written. So they wrote poetry and then they submitted it. So they read. Finally they got this one. And they said, this is it. This is the poem. Who is the author? There's no name. Then the king quickly knew, this must be written by somebody of the caste. And they are not allowed to. So the king said, I know how to flush him out. The ministers all said, we don't know how to find the guy. Could be anybody. So they said, I know how to flush him out. Call the whole people of the kingdom, get the best singer to sing the poem, and I'll make an announcement before singing. He said, when they are singing, nobody should say besh besh. In India, there is no. If you do something good, they say besh besh. If you play a music, besh besh. So the king said, anybody who say besh besh, I'll cut your head off. So this guy starts singing. At one point, one guy said, it's okay if my head goes besh besh. And then the king stopped and said, are you the one who wrote the poem? He said, yes, I did. You can cut my head off. He said, no. I just want to flush you out. Because he said, that guy will bow even to his own poetry. And he go like, yeah. That means he held something high, right? It's like an admiration. He said, if I die la. Besh besh. Same thing, the one that you look up to is the one you say, that's my man. It's your, what do you call that? You're like the boss, Nowadays I see someone, what is it? Like a boss, like somebody says something and everybody go like a boss.
Oh God.
No, that's a little besh, isn't it? Like sometimes somebody says a quote or says a mathematical equation or a philosophy and you go like, that's it. Besh.
Yeah.
Like now, find your besh kirtan. Find your moment of like a boss. You don't have to admire all of it. You can just take that.
I think that's where people are getting confused and where they are holding the people that they look up to everything. Like there's this podcast. I always talk about her, Amanda Seales, and I love what she has to say. I listen to her like habitually weekly, but I've seen her like get very upset, this, that, and I see her as this imperfect person, but I still like, I appreciate all of it.
Right.
But I don't necessarily want to be exactly like you, but I love what you say.
You see, this is what it is. And we talked about in the other episode about the contradiction. Like there's this artist called Lucian Freud. He's the grandson of a Freud, his paintings are beige. Beige. But they said as a person, he gets into street fight, bar fight, he gets into all kinds of mischief. So, I'm admiring that, not that. You understand? I'm admiring that, not that. Right?
Yeah.
I think what we want is we have this idea of perfection. Flawless. I think that's our error. And we want somebody not to make a mistake. One day, one lady was arguing with the husband, and I told her, I said, he's a man too. As a husband, you have an idea, but also put that aside. He's a man too. He's a guy too. You know what I mean? If he's off golfing or playing something, just don't hold that as the highest and condemn this, right? So now, looking up to, I think as a general statement, you all should have somebody you look up to, aspire to. But look up to them, not to them. Look up to them as a reflection of you. I want to paint like Lucian Freud. I never will, I think. But I look up to it. I'm like, is it the person or is it me that I'm looking up to wake up to be? The other is a reflection of me and what I can be. You know what Hitler is? Is also what I can be that I must avoid. It's easy to condemn Hitler and Mussolini and all these people you can condemn, but it's also you, unless you say no. Because it's part of human species. If somebody rape, can anybody say they will not? Until we consciously say no. This is the third right. You agree and disagree consciously. Right? But I think what has to be stated here is we have been coerced to look up to things. That's why they control the media. We are trained to look at it. I remember when I was younger, when I got started, we were in sales. They will always try to highlight the guys who did the most amount of sale. And those guys can be evil and ugly and they do the thing wrongly. But what they concern was the output. So they made the whole group admire that guy. How he did it was never a question. So we must understand propaganda, like what Hitler said, truth is just a lie repeated over and over again. Go and see all these people. They are managing an image. That's a lie. They're making you look up to something that is not true. You are made to want to be that person, not that it's the person you need to be. So what is that you look up to? You in the future. If you see it in another, well, you have a glimpse of you. The other doesn't matter.
And it's even like people in your life, right? Like I have one of my friends, she just had a baby. And I always would tell her, I always look up to your relationship with your husband and now seeing you guys with a baby because like it's so nice to see like young, happy. Even when the baby comes, there's so much of this like noise of like, oh, having a baby is really hard. Men have to step up. All of this like the negative that you read online. But when I looked at her and her husband and we were hanging out and I know them both pretty well. I was like, are you guys so happy? And then they were like, we are the happiest we've ever been.
Wow.
And I was just like, damn, I know that it's not perfect. She's my friend. Of course, she'll tell me if they fight, this and that, all of that. But I'm like, no, but that's real. And you can even see that.
And you can see that for yourself.
Yeah.
So what I am is also a site for another to be. So I must be responsible the person I'm being. Right? So do you your subject today is looking up to, right?
Someone worth looking up to.
Someone worth looking up to. I think I finish it with this: someone you worth being. Someone you want to be. Someone your whole system is gravitating towards. Right? So it's more about you than the other. You are looking for a mirror. And the mirror shows two sides, what you don't want to be and what you can be. Either one would do. So Kirtan, good boy.
Or was it beige?
Beige, Kirtan, beige.
Bye.
Bye.